Hello and welcome to Clamp, the weekly podcast where we discuss all things related to creating, living, and making projects. I'm the host, Grant Alexander, and joining me as always is Adam Mackey and Jessy Ratfink. And this week, we're inspired to talk to you guys because we want to talk about the things that inspire us to make. I was thinking about this the other day when I was looking at cottages to buy, which I don't have the money to buy a secondary property, but I just kept looking at them and thinking of all the fun projects I would do if I owned a cottage, whilst looking at all the projects I haven't finished in my own house. And so that got me thinking about what is really driving me, what is inspiring me or driving me to actually make something. And so before I answer that, I wanted to throw it to both you guys to kind of talk about what inspires you to make.
You know, it's interesting we came up with this topic because I recently have been thinking I would love to make stuff to sell. I don't want to do commission work, but I'd love to just work on a project slowly over a few weeks to a month and then sell it. Hence why I talked about in the pre-show about the coffee table I want to make. It's primarily to sell. Because we'll never use it in our house. And I have been trying to find inspiration of things to make and sell, and I can't, nothing points out to me. I've been on Instructables, I've been on Pinterest, I've been on everywhere. I've been just searching Google, and there's nothing that just stands out of oh, that's something that'd be cool to make and sell.
Right.
So
because
I don't know what
money doesn't motivate you.
It's not not the money. What motivates me is something that looks like it'd be interesting to make.
Exactly. A lot of people are motivated or inspired by money. They see that people are buying a widget and they're like, I can make a widget and I can make 30 widgets an hour and I could make this much money and then boom, I could afford a cottage. And a part of me goes, well, I could do that too. Right. It's the same. I thought the same thing when I got the CNC mill and I went, I could just make hundreds of something and but then I went, there's no part of me that is driven by money. Right? So it doesn't inspire me.
I think that is sort of where I'm at right now in my life. I used to make for money, exclusively. I was making custom stuff all the time for people for money or making jewelry, just whatever could get us a little extra money. And now that I'm more comfortable, I just really want to do things that I think are cool or things that I've wanted to do for a long time. And I've been too worried to give it a try because we didn't really have the funds for me to waste them if I had a failure.
Right.
So yeah, now I think I'm a little more inspired by what would make my life easier, what would make my house more beautiful, things like that, instead of what is something that can be easily customized that everyone will like, which is what you really fall into when you try to make for profit, because so much of that is I don't know, magnetic beer openers or, cutting boards or coasters or just all of that sort of stuff. It's kind of hard to find a good mix between what sells and something you like.
And if I enjoyed, the first few cutting boards I made, I was like, yeah, I think I could do this. And making cutting boards, Vincent makes a lot of cutting boards and he does a great job at it and he enjoys doing it. I wish I had whatever is driving him. I wish I had the same thing driving me so that I could then just go out in my shop and make a bunch of stuff and sell it. But I don't.
Yeah.
So what's inspiring you now then? Sorry.
I was just going to say, production work is not my thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a lot of it too. I don't want to make the same thing over and over. So right now.
She says someone with the wall of embroidery behind her.
They're all different. But yeah, I don't know. I've spent, so much time in production being a business, but I really haven't been able to do bigger projects. I rarely have wanted to do woodworking projects. And we've got the space now. I've got enough thoughts. I could probably figure it out with what we have. I just haven't quite got there yet because it's a scary transition to move from something like embroidery to a huge wooden shelf or a cabinet because I have ideas for our living room.
You think microphones and cameras was a big rabbit hole to go down? Wait till you start getting into like woodworking tools.
Yeah, I already kind of fell into that quite a few years ago at the Instructables contest, like trying to find good stuff for people. Yeah, I had no idea there
I
was
can
so much
imagine.
stuff until like 5 years ago.
You mentioned something that I wrote a little list of like what inspires me, and it's like to make my things that will make my life better or make my family's life better, right? Like those are things that I'm constantly thinking about, is like solving these like problems around the house um, in ways that I think are creative that maybe people haven't thought of before, which also becomes problematic because if people haven't thought of them before, it makes it hard for me to figure out how to do something. But like I was thinking, like even this thing I talked about in the pre-show, the Lego thing, I posted a picture of it in our little Discord chat server that we have for the makers on Zoom having coffee, and someone said you should sell plans for that because I've never seen one like that before. I went, oh, maybe I should, and I know I won't because I don't like selling stuff, but I might do an Instructables about it because that's basically like doing plans but for free.
Well, and plans are such a great idea if you want to make a bunch of stuff, but you don't want to sort of, I don't know, get stuck in a rut with it. Like,
Right.
I really, really enjoy being able to have all the instructional materials and just sell $5 patterns. And it's really no effort after I've done it a couple times. I don't ever have to stitch that again.
Right.
It's nice to be able to move on, but continue making the money.
And I think I think like it would be like patterns seem like such a much more like I think I could do it. I think I could like sell a pattern. Plans to me, I would be constantly worried about, is this person actually getting, are they understanding what I'm trying to say? Am I going to field questions on things like with a pattern? Well, there's obviously still probably going to be questions because people out there are people. But you know, it's it seems like it's a much more simpler thing. Like you look at like I've seen some of your patterns, like it's like I don't know, it's not like paint by numbers, but it is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's definitely like there's less rules that you need to adhere to for something like embroidery as opposed to woodworking. And there's so many ways that you can do woodworking. Yeah, I can imagine people who just sell that sort of stuff probably field more questions from people than I do.
Tried making plans once and I got so lost because I don't use plans. I never have and like I never buy them, so I don't really know what to look for in plans. So I had no idea what I was doing when I tried to make them. But, and like you said, there's so many different ways to do something that like, yeah, like it's pretty much my plans would be cut your wood to this size, however you want to do it, and that's it. Put it all together. I don't
So
know.
I often get these like old books with like plans in them, and I'm showing this for the YouTube people who obviously aren't listening. But I have a like 1950s or 70s uh, somewhere in there, how to build with plywood, and it's like a whole bunch of different projects. And I have a whole bunch of these books of like different projects, and I think about making those projects all the time because I have the plans and they inspire me. But the problem is, I take that inspiration and I go, but I can't just do that. I need to do it plus. And
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
I then just never do it. Right. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I remember like when I first got into woodworking again after like high school and like 15 years later, I downloaded a bunch of plans and I just made them. I just made stuff from plans and I went, oh, this is great. And then once I had done it a few times, I went, oh, I can no longer use plans anymore. I need to be my, I need to do it myself, which becomes problematic because sometimes it's just nice to shut your brain off, like you're saying, and just make the thing. Be
Yeah.
inspired to make the thing.
I fail at using plans too. You were saying that I was just looking at my bookshelf in my office, and I bought one of Anna White's woodworking books, like
Oh yeah.
furniture for the home. Like I have quite a few over there that yeah, I've never done anything with them. I've looked through them a lot, and I thought that looks great, and I should do that, and I just have never gotten started.
Well, so I've the few things I've built is a Good Clean Fun by Nick Offerman. I built a couple of projects out of there. I got a couple of projects from David Picciuto, and because he has plans on his website, make something, and I built the plans from there. And then I got the Adirondack chairs were from Popular Mechanics, I think, or Popular Woodworking, something like that. But they were from like the 80s, and they were like, assemble it with drywall screws. That's like today they make like purpose built decking screws, so you would use that. But yeah, drywall screws were great back in the day because they were coated, and so they wouldn't rust as easy as other screws. But like, I think this is the. But I really like the plans were so simple, and the old plans left enough to the imagination. That's why I like these old books that you had to understand what you were doing to do it. And new plans are like sometimes a little too step by step that
They're
it's
real. They're
like,
made for like real beginners.
yeah, which is great because, but they, I don't know. Sometimes I
Yeah,
like to solve a problem, and that's something that I wrote down too. Solving problems, you know, I that inspires me.
I was about to say the same thing about myself. I feel like I get a lot of enjoyment out of the designing and the solving the problem of what I need to make, as well as actually making. So buying a plan and building that plan doesn't give me as much enjoyment as if I came up with the project myself. I also feel that I don't really make a lot of things just to make them. Like I have books downstairs as well, like old woodworking books and stuff, and I'll never make anything out of them because I don't need any of it. I tend to only make things that I need.
Hmm.
Like I don't know. Most of my projects was building my workshop for ages.
Yeah, and tearing down your workbench and building it again. You must have like five
Yeah.
workbench
I've been
related
like through
videos
like
on your
5
YouTube.
workbenches. Yeah,
Yeah,
I deleted. I removed my miter saw station that I didn't use for years, and
yeah.
yeah, I don't
Miter
know.
saw is like one of the few tools that I use it all the time, but I if I got rid of it, I don't think I'd miss it. I
Yeah,
use it because
exactly.
it's so easy, but I could easily use my table saw. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like a miter saw station's more for people that make like high end furniture, not high end, but like make furniture and stuff a lot. Like I don't really use much dimensional lumber.
See, and that's like most of what I use, just because it's hard, or it was until recently to like get bigger pieces of like plywood or whatever sheets of anything back to my house, just because we lived in
Right.
cities and it was really crazy. But yeah, I use so much just yeah any sort of pre-cut lumber.
I think like miter saws have their space, but we're not talking about that. Let's get off that. I so making problems or solving problems, not making problems to solve. I don't like to make the problems to solve. I'm not a podcast by Dave Bauer. I like to solve the problems. And I think part of that is actually problematic for my making, is because, like this Lego thing, I solved a bunch of the problems by designing it up in Fusion. Now the problems are solved. I can see it would work. I'm having a hard time getting back out there and actually finishing it because I've built it in my head. I've solved all the problems in my head. Now I like have a hard time actually getting out there and doing it, even though I know it would make my life better because Legos would be, you know, all in one spot, and it would make my family's life better because I think my son would enjoy it. So I got to think of what is actually going to inspire me to make. And I think part of it is I want to see, I really like seeing people smile or, be entertained or even just be like when I give my son a present and he like lights up because it's something I've made him. It's amazing. And I guess then this one kind of, I don't know if this one will do that.
I mean, I would be excited about it. I am, an a middle-aged woman, but I don't know. I would be excited. Maybe you just got to sell him on it as you reveal it a little. Sure.
Yeah. I think he'll use it, but will he be excited? Like if it was a car, he's excited. Like I think you've seen the little wooden BMW
Mhm.
station wagon I made him.
Yeah.
He was super excited for that, and that was like something that inspired me. Is I know he knew our car. I knew he would recognize it right away as our car and be excited about it, and he played with it lots. And I just kind of like, and maybe that's part of it is I don't know for sure whether or not he would be super into this box I'm making him. It's a box. Like, is this like really like the birthday gift he wants? Probably not. I don't know, but maybe he will because he loves boxes and putting stuff in boxes because he's a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you also sort of have to think, would it make your life a lot better? Do you do you think it would contain the Lego in such a way that it would be a big improvement for you? Because maybe it could be a win-win.
Oh, I definitely think it would. But there's a lot of things that would make my life better that I don't do. So even simple things. So I don't know. But okay, so earlier, like I said, I was looking at cottages, and then from that I said, you know, if I can't be bothered to finish any of the projects around my house, how am I ever going to finish something around the cottage? So I said, well, you know what you need to do? You need to finish something around the house. So I immediately started cutting. There's a hole in the drywall that I needed to patch. So I started working on that, and I cut it into a regular shape and made a square piece from some drywall from my garage, and I started putting it in. Then I couldn't find the drywall compound, and then I had a work call I had to go to. I eventually found the drywall compound, and it's drying right now. But it's like, why did I have such a like? What? Why did that spur me? Like, what was that about?
Based on personal experience, I am going to say that you probably thought that would be a really quick and easy project that you could knock out and
Yeah.
feel good about it. But those always spiral into something else. Every time I try to do one of those, everything is lost. Every tool I need is not where it's supposed to be, and I have to dig through like 4 closets. So
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's what happened.
That's almost exactly. You know what's crazy? So the other day we were on our little Zoom call, and someone mentioned something about like your high school yearbooks, and so like I turned around and grabbed them because I know exactly where my high school yearbooks are that I haven't looked at in 20 years. No problem. But could I find the drywall compound? No. So Adam, what's the thing that really gets you out into the workshop? I know we've talked about it a little before. Like, are you making stuff for making content, or are you making it? You know, I know you don't have a lot of stuff around your house that is yours, that you like that you've made yourself. So it may not be that. And I know, like even behind you, you've got a bunch of picture frames, but you probably didn't make those picture frames.
No. Like honestly, I don't know what inspires me.
Okay.
I don't, like you said, I don't make things around the house. Like that slab that I'm going to turn into a coffee table was actually meant to be a desk for like recording the podcast and stuff. But I
Yeah.
honestly just don't like. It's not going to happen. I don't know. I don't know what inspires me. I don't know what gets me out there. Every day I'm sitting at home and I'm thinking, oh, I should get out and make something, but I just don't know what to make. I don't know.
Right.
But I feel like I'm also just
Getting
going through a dry spell.
I get that a lot, and I end up buying a new tool or a new like this is where I think like you're thinking about doing welding because you think about, well, I'm not happy with what I'm currently doing, right?
Yeah,
And if I could weld,
that's a good point.
then I would be able to make so many more things. And I
Yeah.
think that is a bad thing to go like a bad like path to go down. And I can tell you
Mm.
because I now have a CNC mill. I have a forge and an anvil, and I bought a hammer and bought all the stuff for that. And I go out there and I just look at it and go, and what am I going to make? And I see other people just going out there and like making, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so beginner at it that I could just, whatever I make will be making something. But I have a hard
Mm.
time starting because I don't know, I need to be inspired.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
Well,
that's where I really liked going to the high caliber camp and maker camp, and even more high caliber camp because it was really project focused. Was I went there with purpose. I'm going to be coming home with these projects: a tomahawk and a stay flipper, and anything else I wanted to make. And the other thing I wanted to make was a fire poker, and I don't know where it is. It's between here, and Virginia, somewhere. I might have left it in Austin's backyard. He says he can't find it, so maybe I left it on like the back of the trunk of my car, and it is impaled in someone's radiator. I don't know, but yeah,
So if you're listening to this, so I feel as I said, I'm on a bit of a dry spell with the whole making thing. Like I've taken a break from YouTube and that I do want to make another video and everything, and I do miss it, but I'm just having a bit of a break. But I can relate a lot to this with my gym at the moment, like my gymming. So I had 3 weeks off over Christmas because I got sick with COVID and everything, and I do PT every Monday. And I said to my wife, like, I now do my PT does online coaching. My personal trainer does online coaching. So every single day I have a set workout that I have to do, and like a certain amount of calories I'm supposed to eat, which I'll never reach the goal that I'm supposed to do because I can't eat enough. But now that I have a set workout every single day, it's pushing me to go to the gym because I don't have to come up with my own
right,
inspiration / routine. I have a game plan, and I think that is a lot of what stops me from being inspired to get into the garage. Is I don't know what I want to do. Whereas if I had a plan, like I get excited, I'll be like most of the time actually when I get into the workshop is I get inspired of something that I want to do in the workshop, and then that motivates me to go for a week or two. But then once I finish it, I don't know what to do again, and then I'm back to square one of being lost.
yeah, I think that I definitely struggle. I've definitely been in a dry spell as well. Um, I think I'm still recovering from burnout from like a few years ago now. I went way too hard. And I think part of the issue, like I am inspired by a lot of things. I see art on Instagram all the time that I think, oh, I should try that. I have all the supplies. Or, I'll think about, well, maybe I should start making patterns again because I found that really rewarding and it was fun to like document the process. But then it's also a matter of there are so many things that I could do. I almost get paralyzed with the choice of it.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
Like
that's a good point.
that's I think where I'm getting stuck. It's just like, yeah, there's so many things that I could possibly do. I can't narrow it down. I can't figure out what is the most exciting a lot of times. And it's just I get stuck there for a bit.
yeah. I think that's part of like to bring it back again to Vincent. It's like he gets an order, he has to go make it, right? And I think that really helps you get inspired to make something because somebody's relying on you. Now,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I get an order, I make picture frames is pretty much the only thing I'll make regularly for just one customer. But whenever I get an order, it's almost like paralyzing to get it because I
Yeah,
feel
I feel
like
like
I don't
that's
know,
how I'd
like
be.
yeah, I don't know, I don't want to. I like it's like I'll do it. I just wish the whole time I'm like, why did I sign up for this? And I know why I did because I think to
Yeah.
myself like I'd like to get more money. When I say it, hey, do you have any picture frames you want me to make? And he comes back to me, and I'm like, yeah, I said it because I would like to make more money, right? Because more money could equal better things for my family or whatever. But the whole time I'm like, I really wish there was a better way I could make the amount of money I'm making here, like a different way. And I wonder why.
I feel like the two commissions that I've ever done, the whole time I just was so worried that I wasn't going to do a good job and that they weren't going to be happy with it, and it was so much pressure, and that's why I don't like doing commissions. It's the pressure. I feel like I feel so unworthy.
I run into that too, or I did. Like I mean, because I did my business for probably 5 years, just like full time, pretty much, along with my full time job. And every order, I was just obsessed with it until I was done with it. It was all I could think about. It took over everything. I was so worried about living up to these like crazy expectations I had assembled in my head for this like imaginary person I've never actually met. And yeah, I would just get so stuck on it that I just stopped enjoying it because I was constantly so worried about it, even though there was no reason really to feel that way. It's just, yeah, when somebody hands you money, it gets a little scarier.
So I actually think like money has the opposite effect on me. It actually like inspires me not to make. I don't know why. Like I would love to just make stuff and sell it. That would be a completely different thing. I think commissions are the problem. So it's not money that's
Mhm.
the problem. It's like this expectation of quality from the design aspect into me, right? Into what I produce. Whereas if I produce something and I have it out there, you can look at it and say, well, that's not up to my quality and not buy it, right?
Yeah.
But if you've paid me, you have in your mind a certain quality that you think is worth for whatever reason, right? I know I undercharge like most makers. I know the price I pay is, or the price that people pay is really low, but they still in their mind have a certain quality that I know when I can't produce it, I would feel problematic. Feel I don't know.
You know what's funny is that is all something that we put on ourselves. Like
Yeah,
my wife used to have a cake decorating business, and same thing. She couldn't do it. She ended up quitting it because she was always worried that she couldn't live up to the expectations of the customer and all that. And I was the person in the background going, "You'll never see that seam. Like, don't worry about it. Like, they'll never notice it. It's not that." And like, you take the cake and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so amazing!" Like that, like, but like in her eyes, all she sees is the defaults. I'm exactly the same when it comes to my making. All I see is the defaults.
Well, and I think there's even another sort of additional issue on top of it, just from the customer perspective. People have standards that you cannot understand or ascertain at all. Like I have had returns and complaints for the strangest, most nitpicky reasons, things that I was not even worried about. So it's also like just getting those really intense customers that you just can't make happy at all. I think that
Yeah.
kind of puts
right.
a damper on it too, because then you're just sort of like waiting for the next time somebody complains, because you can't always expect everything, so it gets a little weird.
I feel like customers like that didn't know what they wanted to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, no matter what you could make it completely perfect, and they would still find a reason to not like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they bring up something that you didn't think was a big deal, and now you worry, is it a big deal? And now you've got
Yeah.
a new anxiety to deal with.
Yay!
Well, I think we should do our newest, at this point, we should do our newest segment, the Ask Jessy Anything segment. And we've got a great question from Matthew Serio from Artigiano Serio. And he asked the question, how much do they have to pay you per episode to agree to help host? Don't get me wrong, they needed to do something to improve the quality of this cast. I'm glad my Patreon money is going to more than just Grant's hammering lessons. Now, that was his joke, and I thank you very much, Matthew. That was a funny question, but his real question is actually, um, How has Jessy seen more readily available forms of digital fabrication affect the submissions on Instructables?
So is this is a really big question and something that we on staff honestly talk about quite a bit. Personally, I love digital fabrication. I think it's amazing that it's way more accessible for people. But there's also a completely different side that we also have a lot of people who are traditional artisans and hobbyists who,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how it's displayed or explained, they do not think that digital fabrication is actually making something. So it's I think it's amazing. We still need to convert some people. I think we have run into some issues where, like, we might have a contest winner that made something with a CNC. And it's a project that probably took them, 50 to 100 hours of work because they had to spend so much time designing before they could even make it. And then, someone who maybe got like a first or second prize, they will be upset that they made something all from wood with their hands and put all of this work and effort into it, and that person just made it on a CNC. So we still have a little ways to go, I think, with everybody understanding that it is for real making. It is actually making. You are putting in a lot of time and effort, and it's a very specialized skill set that you have to have.
Mm. Do you feel like the quality of projects has gone up because
I
of how
do.
much? Okay.
Yeah, I now that you can get a CNC machine for your home and you can get a ton of really affordable 3D printers, people are able to put out projects that are so much more professional looking. It's a
Mm.
lot easier to kind of step up your design and get to a much higher level quicker. Just because, so many of the software programs, they allow you to sort of like do prototyping and sort of see like physics and how the object's going to react in certain ways. And
Right.
it just, yeah, it really makes the whole design process a lot easier. And I don't know, I've just been astounded at a lot of the stuff that we've seen, in the last 5-10 years. I mean, because we're talking like open source hardware that people are able to share now just because the fabrication is out there and people can do it. And it's actually really accessible now. So yeah, the projects have really improved. I mean, when you think about our circuit section a decade ago, it was LED throwies and really sketchy looking like wearables with a bunch of conductive thread all over. And when you think about like how clean and polished stuff looks now, I mean, it's amazing. It's crazy to think about how much it's improved.
In saying that, has the written instructions gotten better, or have the projects only gotten better?
That is so that's a little like it's kind of half and half. So I do think that for people who are really serious about their work and their projects, it sort of ups the bar of documentation for them. So
Okay.
because people, when you do a digital fabrication project, people want to know exactly what tool you used, what settings did you use, what exact material did you use. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they want the G code, they want the STLs, they want the original files so they can slightly modify them to fit whatever. So
Right.
I think people are more demanding with them, but the people who publish content that involves digital fabrication, who do it really well, their documentation is amazing and I love it.
Okay.
The other side of that, though, is there are also a lot of companies out there that will do the fabrication for you, especially PCB companies. So there are also a lot of people out there who essentially just spam for them. So
Ah.
you also see a lot of like lower quality, I'll just say that, lower quality stuff that is not really a full project, but instead a way to say, oh, I made this with this PCB manufacturer, this PCB manufacturer, in order to get like, kickbacks and discounts and codes. So I would say overall, it's really good. I love the era of digital fabrication, but there's definitely some less desirable sides of it.
Wow.
Sounds like YouTube.
Yeah, that was a
Oh,
really great answer. And thank you,
I
Matthew.
think about it a lot.
Yeah. Thank you for the great question. Yeah, I think at this point we should go on to thanking our Patreon supporters, which Matthew Serio is one. I want to thank our F Clamp level supporters. Matthew's actually one of the. So we have a limited supply of F Clamp levels because I didn't want to get into a situation where we were saying 100 names, because other podcasts were saying 90 names an episode, and they eventually stopped doing that. But like 90 names, that's like a lot of names to say. So I limited our level to a certain number. And Matthew is one of the few people who said, you know what? You don't need to say my name. I'm paying that level anyway. So thank you very much, Matthew. I've now said your name enough times for hopefully that it all evens out. I want to thank our F Clamp level supporters: Brent Jarvis from Clean Cut Woodworking, Vincent Ferrari from Digitally Creative, Scott Orm from Daddy Yourself DIY, Joe Herdina, Lawrence from Maritime Knife Supply, Rich from Low End Design, and David Wood from DW Wood Builds. Thank you to all of them, as well as all of our other supporters. Everyone who supports us at any level gets access to the pre-show and after-show. They also get a leather keychain made by yours truly. No longer a Morley keychain. Now you get a really good one. I don't know. You can, I don't know. You can go on over to patreon.com/clamp and get access to all of that. And if you can't support us financially, we completely understand. You can either, listen to the show. That's a number one thing we like. You can write us a review. That really helps. And later on, I'm going to be reading a review. And, yeah, you can also just share the show. We'd really appreciate it. And now, Clampmendations.
Clampmendations. So my Clampmendation for this week is Selection Radio. I found them through SoundCloud. So it's done by this guy named Joe K, and it's soul, R&B, hip-hop, rap, a lot of really good stuff from the 90s and the early 2000s. He makes these fantastic DJ mixes that are like a couple hours long. So, if you like that sort of music, it's great for when you're working in the shop or when you're just working. Honestly, I listen to it in my office all the time. It's my favorite thing.
When you're talking like a DJ mix, do you mean like he does the thing where they actually like time the music so it doesn't have a stop and a start?
Yep.
I do like that.
Yeah, and he's so good at it. I mean, it's flawless. It's a lot of fun.
My Clampmendation this week is going to be a video game called High on Life. It is made by the creators of Rick and Morty, and essentially,
that makes sense.
you're a human whose world gets overrun by aliens that want to use humans as drugs, like smoke them in bongs, and you have guns that talk. So the guns talk to you. It's very R18, if not more. I'd say over 21. It's very, very crude. A lot of swearing. It's a great game, but it's so fun. And
nice.
Yeah, you're pretty much you're a bounty hunter trying to kill all the aliens that are trying to kill or smoke all the humans.
I have been seeing this clips from this on TikTok, and it looks
so good.
Awesome. And I want to play it, but I also just I want to go out in the shop and do more. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably end up playing the video game.
Well, I'll tell you this: I started it 2 days ago and I finished it this morning. Well, I did so. There's a lot of exploring to do after it, but I've finished all the main story part.
Okay.
It's not that long of a game, so you could finish it in I don't know, 8 hours, probably maybe 10 hours if you played it 10 hours straight.
So I'm curious. I looked it up. Some of these sort of like outdoors screenshots almost look like No Man's Sky, like the environments. Are you
Sort
actually
of, yeah.
exploring a lot, or are you more in an urban
It's
environment?
very so it's both. You go through portals into like a desert world, or there's a forest sort of
Mm.
style world, and then there's like your
Mm.
normal like the city, and then the city there's a tunnel that goes down into the slums, which is where like you can't touch the water and stuff because you die and that. But
Mm.
and then so when you start the game, you've got to find the guy who was originally a bounty hunter to get like his gear, and then he moves. So your house gets warped into like an alien city. So your house is literally like in the middle of alien city. And then he tries to steal your house and's like asleep on your lounge. And the only reason he would give you his bounty gear is if you die, he gets to keep your house. Yeah.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. It's a fun game. And like there's so much like you literally could go up to like someone on the street and like they're just having a conversation. And it like you could stand there for 10 minutes to listen to this nonsense conversation that has nothing to do with the game, but it's just there. Or like there's TVs
Yeah.
around just playing stuff. Like there's a movie by Paul Walker, like back, I don't know, like one of his first ever movies. And the alien that's in your house just keeps watching this movie. Like you could sit there and watch
Apparently,
the
you can
entire
watch.
movie if you want to.
Yeah, they bought the rights to some movies so that they could play
Yeah.
them in their entirety
Yeah.
in the game.
There's a guy that plays a drum and his head is literally an anus. It's like he can't talk,
Okay,
he just
that's
farts. Yes, yeah.
So that sounds really good.
If you like
other
Rick
than
and
that
Morty,
last
you will
bit.
like it.
I've never watched Rick and Morty, but I will like to recommend that everyone go check out Griffin Makes. If you've been on my Facebook or Instagram recently, you might have seen his red beard all across it because he allowed me to post a video, and and it's part of my latest YouTube video as well, because he stole my steak flipper and put his handle on my steak flipper. So I use some of his footage in mine so that they could actually see my steak flipper being handled. Um, anyways, it's gotten on my Instagram. It got on his Instagram. He posted the same video. And don't tell Facebook. Sorry, on his Facebook, he posted the same video. Don't tell Facebook because we're on duplicate content problems here. But he posted it got 25 views. It's at 35 million right now on my Facebook.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a bit of a difference. It's crazy to me to think that if we took the exact same, he sent me the video, so it's the same video. And this is the crazy thing is that like my tiny following of like 20,000 people took that to 35 million, where his following like just it didn't have the reach or whatever. It didn't have for whatever hashtags or whatever. It's such a weird thing to think about. So, anyways, I want to thank him for getting me 35 million views. And probably more. And it's almost at a million on Instagram. But yeah, so it's insane. So everyone go check him out. He makes really cool cosplay. If you want to see him, he's been The Witcher, and he has been Obi-Wan Kenobi. And yeah, and he likes to wear Canadian tuxedos. So, do we want to do you got a slang of the week, Adam?
No, I don't.
Good, because we got a review. So, I'm going to read the review, and I'm just going to read it. There's going to be no more accents. It's just someone reading it. It's a 5-star
Unless Jessy
review.
wants to do an accent.
Yeah, you want to do an accent?
No.
No, okay. Is that a clamp in your pocket? Clamping great time. Clamp yourself in a chair and enjoy this podcast. These guys provide you with the content you're looking for to keep your project in place. From Platte Valley Woodworks in Apple Podcasts. And that's a 5-star review. Thank you very much, Greg. He's another patron. Thank you for putting in that review. If you guys want to get a review read, if you specifically mention a particular accent and I might be able to do it, I'll try. Otherwise, I'm just going to read reviews. but I will read them all. Somewhere along the lines, apparently, we got something less than 5 stars because we're rated 4.9. So whoever you
Oh.
were, go back there, put it back up to 5. Let's go. I couldn't find it. I don't believe it exists. I think they're lying.
I don't know how to find reviews to begin with, so
Fair. I want to thank TF Turning for the theme song. If you didn't know, he writes all the music for this show, and he is working on a new theme song because we got a new host, so we got to have a new theme song. And if you got any suggestions on what the theme songs thing should be, give us a shout over on the Clampstagram. You can find us collectively on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. No, I don't think we're on TikTok. Twitter, YouTube. You can find us all in all the places. Just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for joining in. And now we're going to head over to the after show. Goodbye.
bye.
Bye.
Did you hear the new jingle?
No.
Yes, I laughed. I was so nervous. Yeah, that was pretty good.
I just had to slow you down just a little bit to get the timing right, but other than that, it fit good.
Nice.